Welcome back to the deep dive. I have to be honest, looking at the stack of research we have on the desk today, I thought there had been a filing error.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, charts on game theory, manuals on military psychological operations, notes on machine learning algorithms, and then right in the middle of it, a comprehensive episode guide to the TV show Survivor.
It does look like a bit of a chaotic spread, doesn't it? But it's actually one of the most cohesive data sets we've ever looked at.
Okay, that is a very bold claim. I mean,
Yeah.
usually when we talk about data sets here, we're analyzing things like global supply chains or the history of cryptocurrency.
Right.
And today, our mission, at least according to these producer notes, is to convince the listener, and frankly to convince me, that a reality show about strangers eating rice on an island is actually a 20-year longitudinal study on human behavior.
Yes.
And not just a study, but a training ground for artificial intelligence.
That is the mission. And the key to understanding this is you have to stop thinking of Survivor as just a reality show. If you strip away the tiki torches and, the host's catchphrases, what you are left with is a tactical game show that has been running as a continuous social experiment since the year 2000.
So it's a closed system.
It's a closed system. You have consistent rules, extreme environmental pressure, and a rotating cast of variables, the humans.
So effectively, it's a petri dish.
Exactly. It's a petri dish for sociology and for game theory. And what makes this deep dive so interesting is that we aren't just looking at who won season 4 or who got voted off last week.
Right.
We're tracking how the strategy of winning has evolved from brute force to complex emotional manipulation, and how that evolution mirrors the changes in our own society.
And then the part that sounds like science fiction. How the military and AI researchers are scraping that footage to teach robots how to detect lies.
That is the part that genuinely keeps me up at night.
We are definitely going to get to the robots.
Yeah.
But let's start at the beginning. The source material highlights the original vision of the show, which feels almost quaint now.
It does.
Mark Burnett, the creator, he didn't pitch this as a strategy game, did he?
No, not at all. The original pitch was essentially a sociological hypothesis. It was Lord of the Flies with cameras.
Right.
The core question wasn't who is the best gamer. The question was, if you strip away civilization, the laws, the police, the social contracts, do we revert to savagery or do we maintain order?
I remember watching those early seasons, Borneo, Australia, Africa. Watching them back now, the pacing is incredibly slow. It feels like a nature documentary.
That's what the analysis calls phase 1, the US versus them era. And the casting was built on these really rigid archetypes. You had the provider, the guy who could catch fish like Richard Hatch or Rudy Bosch. You had the mother figure, the young competitor.
And the currency of the game was almost purely physical. I mean, if you could build the shelter or win the challenge, you were safe.
Because the tribe needed you to survive the elements. It was a cooperative survival effort.
Yep.
But this is where the first major data point hits. Richard Hatch. He's often credited with inventing the game, but the analysis, it kind of frames it differently. It says Hatch was the first person to realize the zero-sum nature of the experiment.
Okay, let's break that down. Zero-sum is a game theory concept, right?
Right. In game theory, a zero-sum game is a situation where one person's gain is exactly equal to another person's loss. There is no win-win.
Got it.
Hatch realized that keeping the tribe strong, which everyone else thought was the goal, was actually counterintuitive to his individual victory. He needed the tribe to be just strong enough to get to the merge, but weak enough to be manipulated.
So he introduces the concept of the alliance.
Exactly.
Which seems so obvious now. I mean, it's the foundational mechanic of the show. But the sources remind us that in the year 2000, the audience hated him for it.
Oh, they viewed it as immoral. And that's a crucial insight into the societal values of that time.
Right.
Cultural values dictated that fair play and hard work should be rewarded. And Hatch proved that in a closed system, organized deception is a more efficient path to victory than labor. He essentially broke the social contract.
He showed that the bad guy could win if the bad guy was smarter.
Mm-hmm.
And that break leads us into the second era the analysis identifies, the strategic thriller phase. We're talking roughly Vanuatu through Micronesia.
Yes.
This is where I feel the show really found its footing as a game.
This is the rise of the strategist. The focus shifts entirely from who can catch fish to who can control the vote.
And the key metric here is the blind side.
The blind side. But the sources mention a specific mechanic that accelerated this evolution, the hidden immunity idol.
I want to focus on the idol for a second because it seems like just a TV twist,
Yeah.
but the analysis treats it like a major variable shift.
It is. From a game theory perspective, the idol introduced asymmetric information.
Okay, another term we should define. Asymmetric information.
Sure. Before the idol, everyone theoretically had access to the same information. Who likes who is voting for who. It was a game of social math.
Okay.
The idol meant one player had a secret weapon, a piece of information that the others didn't have, that could just overturn the majority rule.
So it forced players to stop playing checkers and start playing 3D chess.
That's it.
You couldn't just have the numbers. You had to account for the unknown.
Precisely. You had to split votes, you had to flush idols. It added layers of probability management. And the producers, realizing that this complex strategy was driving the ratings, started tweaking the variables to encourage it.
And this is where the source material brings up the Cook Islands season.
Ah, yes.
I was waiting for this. The season where they divided the tribes by race?
It was a PR nightmare at the time, and I mean, rightfully so. But strictly looking at the data, the source material argues it was a massive stress test on tribalism.
How so?
Well, the producers were asking, if we artificially enforce in-groups based on ethnicity, will that overglide strategic self-interest?
And the answer was complex, right? I mean,
Right.
people initially stuck to their race-based tribes, but eventually the game just took over.
Exactly. It proved that in the high-pressure environment of Survivor, the strategic alliance, the group that gets you further in the game, is stronger than the identity alliance. Self-preservation overrides heritage in that specific context.
So we move from the physical survival game of the early 2000s to the cutthroat strategic game of the mid-2000s. But now, according to the sources, we are in the new era.
Mm-hmm.
This is season 41 onwards. And I have to say, the tone shift here it's jarring.
It is. If you haven't watched recently, it's almost unrecognizable. The analysis defines this era by two concurrent factors, the superfan and the empathy economy.
Well, let's break down the superfan first, because I've noticed this. Everyone on the show now seems to have memorized every single episode.
Yeah.
They aren't recruits from a bar in LA anymore.
No, they call this metagaming. The contestants aren't just playing the game, they're playing against the history of the game.
Right.
They know every puzzle solution, they know every idle hiding spot, and this leads to what the text calls rapid strategic evolution.
Meaning the game just moves too fast for long-term alliances.
Exactly. An alliance used to last 30 days. Now an alliance might last 12 hours. The concept of trust has been replaced by temporary alignment of interests. It's hyper-transactional.
But here's the contradiction I'm struggling with. The game is faster and more cutthroat than ever, yet the personalities are nicer. The sources talk about a huge focus on social justice, mental health, personal growth. People get voted out and they hug the person who stabbed them in the back.
It feels like a paradox, doesn't it? But the analysis argues this isn't a contradiction, it's an adaptation. This is the why section of our dive. Why did the game get nice?
I assumed it was just casting. People are softer now, or the producers are scared of Twitter.
That's definitely part of it, the audience reflection theory.
Yeah.
We as a society have become more sensitive to bullying, racism, mental health issues.
Sure.
If a contestant acts like a villain today, like the Russell Hantz archetype of the past, who burns socks and dumps out water, they don't just lose the game, they get canceled on social media.
So it's self-censorship for brand management.
To an extent. But there is a purely strategic layer, too. The sources call it social capital.
Okay.
In this new hyper-fast game, you cannot afford to burn bridges. If the game is fluid, the person you betray today might be the person you need to save you tomorrow.
So being nice isn't just moral, it's optimal gameplay.
It's the weaponization of empathy. The bitter jury is a real threat. If you vote someone out with malice, they won't give you the $1 million.
But if you do it nicely.
If you vote them out with love and respect and talk about how hard the decision was, they might. So players have learned to wrap their betrayal in kindness.
It's toxic positivity as a strategy. I love you, you're amazing, but get off the island.
Exactly. And that brings us to the most mind-bending part of this analysis. We've established that Survivor is a rich database of human behavior deception, alliance building, emotional management.
Yeah. Now let's talk about who is watching that footage.
The data mine. This is the AI section. And I want to be clear here. We aren't saying robots are sitting on a couch watching CBS on Wednesday nights.
Yeah. Right.
How is this data actually being used?
Researchers are using the raw footage to train agent-based models. Think of it like a simulation, like a very advanced version of The Sims, powered by complex algorithms.
Okay.
AI developers need to teach these agents how humans interact, specifically in adversarial conditions.
But why Survivor? Why not just use, I don't know, CCTV footage or movie scripts? Or just observe people in an office?
Because Survivor have what researchers call ground truth combined with deceptive action. This is the key.
Okay, ground truth.
In a movie, the deception is scripted, so it's fake. In
Ru-
CCTV footage, you see a person do something, but you don't know why they did it.
But in Survivor, you have the confessional. Bingo. You have the player looking directly into the camera saying, I do not trust Steve, and I'm going to lie to him right now. That is the ground truth. Then you have the footage of them going back to camp and actually lying to Steve.
So the AI can compare the two states.
Yes. It analyzes the microexpressions, the tone of voice, the specific words used during the lie, and compares them to the truth spoken in private.
It creates a perfect training loop for lie detection and intent recognition.
That's the term.
That is fascinating and terrifying.
And it goes deeper. The sources mention that AI really struggles with irrationality. Humans often make moves that are mathematically bad, but emotionally satisfying. Survivor is full of that. Spite, paranoia, hunger-induced delirium.
Right, the hangry logic. We are teaching AI that sometimes people just want to watch the world burn.
We're teaching it that human decision-making is probabilistic, not deterministic. Just because a mood is smart doesn't mean a human will make it. If you want an AI to negotiate with humans or predict human behavior in a crisis, it has to understand that we are messy. Survivor documents that messiness perfectly.
Okay, so the AI is learning how to spot a liar. But the source material takes this a step further, into military sector. This felt a bit theoretical to me, but the logic holds up.
It's less theoretical than you might think. The military has a long history of studying small unit cohesion. The text specifically references PSYOPs, psychological operations.
Which usually implies, dropping pamphlets on a village or broadcasting loud music.
Or understanding how to break an enemy's will. Look at the variables in Survivor. Severe caloric restriction, sleep deprivation, paranoia, isolation from the outside world.
It sounds like basic training or a POW scenario.
Exactly. The military is interested in predictive screening. Currently, we test soldiers for physical fitness and basic aptitude. But how do you test for social intelligence under duress?
You're saying they could use a Survivor-style simulation to pick special forces teams.
The analysis suggests it's a valid model. You want to know who is the glue guy, the person who keeps the tribe calm when it's raining and they haven't eaten in 3 days?
And you also want to identify the cancer, the person who, despite being physically capable, creates conflict that destroys the unit from within.
Right, like the person who dumps out the rice because they're mad. You don't want that guy in your platoon.
No. And you can't find that guy with a multiple choice test. You only find him through simulation. The Survivor model offers a blueprint for creating those stress tests.
And it also flips the script on how we view leadership. In the early seasons, the leader was the big guy who shouted orders.
And in the new era, that guy gets voted out immediately.
Because he's a target. The modern leader, and the military is catching on to this too, is the facilitator. The person who leads from the middle, manages egos, and builds consensus.
A shift from command and control to influence and adapt.
That's it.
So if we pull back and look at the whole picture here, we have a show that started as a 2000s morality play, evolved into a game theory masterclass, and is now a database for training AI on human deception and military cohesion.
It's a hell of a legacy for a show that people mostly associate with eating bugs and running obstacle courses.
It really is. And it makes me wonder about the feedback loop. I mean, if AI is learning from Survivor, and Survivor is evolving based on society,
then the AI is learning a moving target. And that's the final and perhaps most critical point the source material raises. The enduring power of tribalism.
Right. Despite the empathy, despite the social justice language of the new era, the core mechanic hasn't changed.
It can't change. It's hardwired. We form in-groups and out-groups. We protect us and we target them. The criteria for who is us changes.
It used to be the strong guys, now it's the voting bloc.
Exactly. But the instinct to divide and conquer is absolute.
So even with all the new era kindness, it's still just polite tribalism.
It's tribalism with a smile. Which, if you think about it, is much harder for an AI or a soldier to detect than open aggression.
That's a sobering thought. We've become more sophisticated at hiding our nature, not necessarily better at changing it.
Exactly. You've just updated the interface.
Before we wrap up, I want to hit on one final provocation from the sources. We've been assuming Survivor acts as a mirror to society, that the new era is nicer because we are nicer. But the analysis questions that.
Yes. The curated reality problem.
The producers are casting for empathy. They're editing out the ugliness to protect the brand. So, are we actually watching a reflection of who we are?
Or are we watching a simulation of who we wish we were?
And if the AI is training on this data, it might be learning a version of humanity that doesn't actually exist. It's learning our aspirations, not our reality.
Which leads to the danger of over-optimized empathy. If an AI assumes humans will act with the new era logic of cooperation and kindness, and then it encounters the real world, which is often still stuck in Season 1 brutality, the model fails.
That is a fantastic place to leave it. We are training the future on a curated version of the present.
A fascinating but potentially risky experiment.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. I'll never watch a tribal council the same way again.
Thanks for listening.